everyone, my name is Millie and welcome to The Performing Arts and Me. For those of you that don't know me, last year I did a foundation year at Bird College and I did lots and lots of drama school auditions. And in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you my experiences of auditioning for Emil Dale, which was one of the drama schools that I auditioned for this year. Just quickly, the reason that I'm doing this is because when I was auditioning for drama schools the first time, there weren't that many people around me that were auditioning or had auditioned recently. So I looked at videos online of people talking about their audition experiences, particularly those from Lucy Stewart-Adams and a channel called Auditioning for Drama School. And so I thought I'd just share my experiences this year because hopefully it might help out some people that are auditioning in the future. As I mentioned, today I'm going to start with Emil Dale because it was my first face-to-face audition. I did have some self-tapes and I think I probably will talk about those, but I'm going to start with Emil Dale. I wrote notes at the time on my laptop, which I've got here. So if I'm looking slightly off camera, that's where I'm looking at. So I can check my notes. But yeah, I'm going to talk you through what the day was kind of like, just kind of the logistics of how the day ran. A little disclaimer though, obviously from year to year, school to school, it can vary. So this is just what my experiences were in 2022, but it could be different for anyone auditioning in the future. Please check their audition requirements and guidelines carefully and don't just go off what I say. It's probably best to think of this more of like my story of it rather than what your experience will be like, because the last thing you want to do is go into it expecting it to be exactly like this and it's not, and it throws you. So yeah, that's just a little disclaimer before we start. But now let's get on with what my experience was like. So I did my Emil Dale audition in February half term, and it was a very cold and windy day, like really cold. So we were, first of all, when you get to their building, the car park is around the back and the entrance, the way that we went in was around the front. So that was the first thing to note. We were split into 4 groups. There were 2 groups of degree. So you went in and you registered and they took us up to the Factory Playhouse, which is their theatre, their in-house theatre. And we'd been split into 4 groups as like that they had a list of names. So there were 2 groups that were auditioning for degree, 1 group that was auditioning for their gap year course, and one group that was auditioning for their BTEC course. When you went in as well, they took a photo of you so that they had like a reference for what you looked like, I guess, to put with your notes. So yeah, we were all upstairs in the factory and then we watched a like promotional video type thing. They explained kind of the day, what it'd be like, that kind of thing. Then we did a vocal warm-up all together, which was in that hall, in the theatre. They did a vocal warm-up with us. It was a good vocal warm-up. And then we were split into our groups, ready for the rest of the day. Now I'm going to tell you about it in the order that I did it in. So I did the dance call first and then the singing and acting call. So we did the dance call first, which was like typical dance call type stuff. And then it was quite, the only thing I'd say is it was quite long. Not that that's a bad thing, but just so that you know that it was quite a long dance call for us. I think it was one of the longest ones I did, but the time went so quick. Also, I think we had sticky labels on, but they were like, if it comes off, don't stress about it. So yeah, I've now got down in my notes that we then had a Q&A after the dance call, but I can't really remember doing that. I mean, I do remember there being a Q&A, but I thought it was during the introduction, but maybe it was separate. So that would have been back in the Factory Theatre, I imagine. But yeah, then after the Q&A, we had our singing and acting call. So in our group, we were in our actual groups by this point. So the degree lots had separated. So we were split into 2 groups and half of us sung, whilst the other half were acting, and then we swapped. So we were all held together in one room, and there was a student helper there to assist us and like call people's names out, that kind of thing. And then there was a room for singing in and there was a room for acting in. And so basically I think they just did it with the list. They cut it in 2 and the first half started with singing and the second half started with acting. Then once they'd done both of them, they swapped. So for the singing, I went into the room and there was me and the pianist and 1 person on the panel. I did both my songs. Some did both songs, some did 1 song, Some did some scales as well, so there was just a whole range of things. For the acting, there was you and the person that was on the acting panel, and that was it. And they asked for, I think they asked for a Shakespeare and contemporary, but I remember to check that. And I did all of my Shakespeare and a little bit of my contemporary. The thing I would say though was there was quite a bit of waiting around, so just keep your energy up and be prepared to just go when it's your turn to go. The other thing was there were lots of student helpers around for most of the day, which was really nice. So we asked the student helper that was waiting in the holding area with us some questions and things. So yeah, they're just around if you've got any questions. The other thing to note was they filmed, but they said basically, they introduced the idea of filming even in the dance school they filmed. Um, they said that basically for their university they have to be able to show that they auditioned people, so they filmed the auditions. I think they filmed us at the end of the dance call, like doing the final performance. Yeah, so they said they have to be able to prove that they're auditioning people, and they also said that they might look back on it, but it's not like a big thing. But yeah, they filmed the singing, they filmed the acting, and they filmed part of the dance call. After that, we had a tour of their buildings. I had already seen their buildings because I went to an open day. But yeah, I think one of the students just took us around. And then after that, they brought us all back together into the factory theatre at the factory playhouse, and then they did a cut. So the way they did it was they called out groups of names, and different groups of people went with different teachers, and then the people that were left in the factory playhouse theatre were told thank you very much, but we've seen everything we need to see. I got cut. They did say that those that got cut, it didn't mean that you automatically had a no, but they said they'd get back to us as soon as possible. So I did get cut, and I heard within a couple of days that I hadn't been offered a place at Emil Dale. But yeah, if you didn't get cut, then there was an interview that you had with whichever member of staff you've been called to go with, I think. But obviously I didn't do that, so I can't really talk about that. But yeah, that was my experience of auditioning for Emil Dale. Now, because this was my first audition, maybe I'll talk about this. No, I'm going to talk about that in a different video. I was going to tell you about kind of how I felt I did, but I think I'll do like a reflection on the audition process in a different video, because otherwise these might get quite long and I'd rather keep them short. So yeah, that was my Emil Dale audition. Anything else to say? Oh, I think they did, because you were waiting around for your singing and acting, there was time for you to get changed from the dance call that was, and they gave you time to get changed beforehand as well, I think. You might want to check that. From what I can remember, it was all right, but I tended to do, so I put leotard and tights on, and then my acting and singing wear I layered over the top of it, because it just meant that I didn't have to go and find a toilet every time I wanted to get changed at these auditions. So that was helpful. I was the first person to do my singing out of my group, so I didn't have quite as much change as other people, quite as much time as other people, but I think I went to the toilet beforehand and it was still fine. So yeah, double check, but they were really lovely there. The students were so nice and friendly. The guy who was doing the singing, because I was the first one, he was chatting to me as I was walking over there. So yeah, I think they did give us enough time to get changed, but it was quite a while ago, so I am struggling to remember that. Okay, and that's all I wanted to say. So that was my Emil Dale audition experience. Thank you, Emil Dale, for auditioning me. That's all I wanted to say. If you've enjoyed this video, please do give it a like and don't forget to subscribe. As I'm filming this, I had looked earlier today at my subscribers and I'm so close to 50. I know that's not much in the grand scheme of like YouTube, but I would quite like to get to 50 by the end of June. So if you could subscribe, that would be great. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Bye!